Hello and welcome back to this edition of the Telescope Maker's Workshop. This is part 6 of making a grinding stand or a polishing stand for your optics. My name is Francis O'Reilly and I'll be hosting this evening's session. We've now made our mounting blocks or attachment points with a 45-degree angle. I'm now going to attach them to the round top of the barrel, which I have purchased from Lowe's for a very reasonable price, about $17.50. I got 2 of them for a total of $35. These are going to be both glued and screwed in place. I'm going to use Tight Bond 3 to glue them on. And my first step is I'm just going to glue one in place and let it set before I screw it on. I'm going to take my glue, I'm going to apply it evenly over the surface of the mounting block. Don't need a lot, but I do want to cover it so that it's well covered. I'm then going to place it in a predetermined location that I've already marked out and just set it. Press it down. Make sure that it's mounted so that a tangent to the point will show a 22.5 degree, to the point that's mounted the first of the mounting block will be 22 degrees, a tangent reaching the circle. Now this has curved edges. They curved out probably somewhere around 3/8 of an inch. And that's also very nice to have. But right now what I'm doing is I'm just mounting it there. I'm going to let it sit. I'm going to let it dry in place. And then I'm going to come back and use a framing square to place the others. Now that I've mounted one mounting block or attachment point, I have 3 others to mount. They should be mounted at right angles and at 90 degrees to each other with respect to the circle, a quarter way around. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the mounting blocks. I've got a framing square. By the way, you can buy these for about $7 at the Home Depot or at Lowe's. I'm going to line the framing square up on the back of my first mounting block. Now it's important that the mounting blocks be made such that and mounted such that the point that is tangent, or the line rather that is tangent, the plane that's tangent to the tabletop, to the top of the stand, be mounted such that the angles are 22.5 degrees off of that, and that the block be relatively properly constructed. What I'm now going to do is take a reference off the back of my block. I know where I want the second block to be, and I'm just going to mount it at 45 degrees. I'm sorry, at 90 degrees. I've got that. Let's use the Tight Bond again. Put it on the back of my block. Put the block back in place where it belongs. Make sure it's mounted at 90 degrees. Unfortunately, I've got a little bit of glue on that. That's okay. Turn this around now. Go to the other side. Take another block. And this really wants to be exactly opposite. The points want to be exactly on opposite sides of the table. 3 to 16. So that would be 13 inches. Half of 13 inches is 6.5. That puts me at about 9.5 inches. I'm just doing some calculations off the back of the framing square to make sure that this is mounted properly in the proper location. Let's take a look on the other side. It is. Put the framing square back down. I'm sure that some of you may have better techniques with framing squares than I do. It's not what I do for a living. I do the best that I can with my abilities. However, I'm not a carpenter, I'm not a furniture maker. I do other things for a living. Please excuse my back. Just mark. Put glue on the back of my mounting block, or the attachment point as I've called it also. And set it within the marks that I've made. That's 3. There's 1 more to go. Do the same thing. To 2. That should be a 10. That's a 10. And again, attach the mounting block, the attachment point, whatever you happen to call it. Now I've got 4 of them glued on. Once they're all glued on and once the glue dries, the next step is going to take 3 2.5-inch deck screws per block, a total of 4 per side, and screw these in with the electric drill. I'm going to give it about an hour for the glue to set and dry. Make sure that everything's exactly as I want it. It is. And then I'm going to repeat this process for the other side. Once it's done, and we're almost done now, then we'll attach the legs, and then we are done. We're back now. It's been about an hour and the glue is now dried on the mounting blocks that are attached to the base of the table. I'm now going to take my drill, mount a Phillips head screwdriver in it, drywall screws. Crazy thing about being a lefty as I am is that you're always turning things backwards. That noise you hear above me is just the dogs. They're wandering around. They may start to bark in a minute. If you have dogs, you know what I mean. 1, 2, 3 screws per block. I've already pre-drilled mounting holes in, or screw holes in them. And I've got a hardwood here. This doesn't want to go in too easily. I'm just going to get them started. That's much better. I'll get that one in a minute. I may have to finish these by hand, but at least I'll get them started. One. Great. Great. Yeah, I'm probably should have drilled some pilot holes straight into the top, because this is really pretty hard wood. That's going in a little better. A little better, but not great. And here's the last one. All right. That takes care of the drilling. Now I'm just going to get a hand screwdriver, and drive these nuts in the rest of the way, or these screws in the rest of the way. When I work on the other side, I'll make sure that I drill pilot holes right into the hardwood. Well, that concludes this edition of the Telescope Maker's Workshop. The next edition will be us mounting the legs and finishing up the entire grinding stand. I've come back. I was working on screwing the mounting blocks in. As you can see, I've got my cat. She's a little bit upset right now. I didn't get them all the way in with the drill, and I wanted to do it by hand. I went off the air because I was afraid there was going to be some strong language employed. As it turned out, everything went in just fine by hand. I didn't need to explain to the blocks and the screws why they needed to work properly. I have finished it now. I just wanted to show you I've got the 4 mounting blocks attached properly, and this is how they look. As you can see, everything's glued in and screwed in. The glue will set overnight. I'm going to make one more piece like this, identical to this, and then I'm going to be in pretty good shape to put on the legs, and we will see that, and we'll have a completed work stand. From there, the only thing left will be to stain it and waterproof it. So that's it for this edition of the Telescope Makers Workshop. Francis O'Reilly, May 13th, 2012.